Don't you hate them pesky young fellers? Can't do nothing, can't drive a manual transmission, can't sharpen a knife, can't tie a bowling knot. Don't you hate all that shit? Well, be a part of the solution, not the problem. The Hungry Handgunner, I'm Nick, and a little funny intro, and if it pissed you off, good. So, this may be no fault of your own. Probably not. If you're the type that's, talking to your buddies a couple generations up from me and talking about the sissification of American men and young men and how millennials, we don't know how to do anything, you're largely right. And a lot of that has to do with upbringing. I was fortunate. I was involved with scouting from the time I was 5 all the way up to Eagle Scout, and then as an adult leader for a little bit before I left and joined the military. And when my kids get a little bit older, I plan on doing the same thing. We're not going to get into the political conversations about scouting here and how the program has changed. I still think it is the best outlet for to teach some pretty cool life skills, a lot of which are still coming into play just now at 30 years old. But a lot of people my age that I've gotten to know throughout the years did not grow up that way. Growing up in a fatherless home is prevalent, and it's a terrible thing for young men. And that's statistics. I'll drop sources in the description. I know somebody's going to ask. There will be sources in the description on that, on the effects that not having a father in the home can have on young men particularly, but children at large. And then even having a father in the home, perhaps his father didn't teach him or he didn't think it was important, but there are some things that I think every man should know. And I say that at 30, I am still a young man by several people's standards. I feel young until I get around some of the 18 and 19-year-olds at work, and I'm like, wow, I'm old. But there is some skills that are lacking that I think everybody should know. And this isn't coming from a paranoid standpoint. These are just things that are good information to know. I advocate carrying a pocket knife daily. What good is that if you can't sharpen one? Sure, you can take it somewhere and have it sharpened until you can't. Sure, you can send it back to the manufacturer and pay money to have it sharpened, which until you can't, and why? Why pay money to do something you can do yourself? I used to include driving a manual transmission on this list, and yes, I can. For anybody that's wondering, actually do. My commuting vehicle is a manual. I don't know how important that is anymore, just because so many vehicles now proportionately are automatic versus manual. Very few manuals being put out, at least here in the United States. I think it's important that people know how to sharpen a knife, that every man knows how to sharpen his knife, keep his tools up, and sharpen a knife. Keep your tools up, whether that's performing maintenance on your weed eater or lawnmower, if applicable. Your Dremel, replacing the brushes and stuff in there if it runs out. Just knowing how to maintain your equipment, gaining the experience to do so versus paying somebody else to do it. Also, basic first aid. I am constantly shocked when I start talking about CPR, how many people don't know how to do that. And yes, I know it's annoying. They keep coming out with changes on how that should be done. Stay up to date on it, guys. It's not hard. And if you've never had any kind of CPR training, a lot of times they're offered for free at places near you or for a minimal fee. Go out and get certified. Not so much for the certification, but there's a lot of misconceptions about CPR, especially if you've never attended a class. That's something everybody should know how to do. I feel like they very easily could save a life and does in a lot of cases. How to put a tourniquet on. Again, probably not going to need it. But if you do, knowing how to stop an arterial bleed or a major venous bleed, that's important. Loss of blood volume, that kills all the time. And, it's relatively simple. Take a Stop the Bleed class, carry a tourniquet with you. Again, not from a paranoid standpoint, but from a preparedness standpoint. And a lot of this is probably going to be influenced by my upbringing, where I live now, the activities I enjoy doing, the activities I hope to do with my sons and daughter as time goes on. But simple things, how to use a map and a compass. We are so spoiled now with GPS in our vehicles, GPS on our phones, GPS units you can carry with you in the woods. All that is technology. Technology fails routinely. Batteries die, things like that. So I think retaining the old school knowledge of how to use a traditional map and compass, find your way, I think that's something every man should know how to do. And I'm singling men out right now because I think there's a war on masculinity. I think there's a war, it's portrayed as toxic masculinity, but there's a difference, guys. There really is. So by all means, I think everybody should know how to do this, but I'm primarily speaking to men. My viewership is like 99.5% male anyway, so I'm not being sexist before that gets thrown out there. But yeah, knowing how to use a map and compass, crucial, I think, and one of those things that where it's like, if you never need it, great, but if you do, difference between life and death, absolutely, depending on your location, weather conditions, what you have with you. Yeah, that can make or break you. Knowing how to find and purify water. Now here where I live, water is abundant. May not always seem like it, but it is. A lot of out-of-state hikers and people coming up from Florida and things remark on that when they start hiking, that it's everywhere. It's pretty easy to find if you know where to look. That is going to get more important in more arid places, knowing how to find water and how to purify it if you do find it. Giardia is nothing to play with in the woods. For those of you that don't know, look that up. Not a pleasant experience, and especially with the toilet paper shortage right now, definitely not something you want to experience. So knowing how to purify water, whether that's a simple boil and strain method, or strain and boil I should say, or using iodine tablets, filtration systems that you can carry with you, pumps and things like that. There are ways to purify water that are more expensive to get into, like standalone water pumps, and then there are some that are relatively inexpensive and convenient, like Life Straw and other things, water bottles with a filter built in. Those may not hold up as well, but they are typically still inexpensive. And I think that's a good skill to have. You never know when you're going to end up even with something like a boil water advisory, or maybe a water line is under service to your house, and I don't know. It's just a useful skill to have. If you spend time outdoors, chances are you probably have already picked up some of that knowledge. And if you are thinking about spending time outdoors, that's one of the more important things to learn. Dehydration kills very quickly, so you can go without food a lot longer than you can go without water. And my last one is going to be how to build a fire. Seems pretty self-explanatory, right? You stack some wood up, pour some gas on it, throw a match at it, shoot a Roman candle at it, and good to go, right? Yeah, no. Dryer lint and a magnesium block and a flint striker. That's more kind of where I'm going at with here. Or even the dryer lint's considered cheating by some of the more hardcore survivalists, some of which I am fortunate to know in my personal life. Speaking of which, I'm going to do a plug for my buddy Mouse. Check his channel out, Survival Mouse. He is a survival guru, and by survival guru, I mean that if the end of the world hit, I'm pretty confident that I would be okay. I'd be miserable, probably, but I think I'd be okay for the most part. Mouse would be living his best life. He would be, his life would not get better for him. This is stuff he does for fun. So I'm going to drop a link to his channel in the description, guys. Check him out. Smaller channel, really good dude. I work with him. He's also an Army vet and just an all-around good guy. But yes, back to building a fire. Need to know where to find dry wood if everything's wet. We just had a major thunderstorm last night. Everything is soaked. The humidity is climbing, which is why I'm out filming this part of the day and not the afternoon. There's still wood all around me right here that if I needed to make a fire, I could. Chances are I could get to it with nothing more than my pocket knife. So that is cool, and I may start doing some how-to videos on this stuff depending on the level of interest. I know I am a firearms channel, but the world situation being what it is, perhaps there might be some knowledge that you guys would like to see. So drop a comment if that's something you want to see. But yeah, knowing how to make a fire, knowing what stuff you can burn and what stuff you can't. There's some stuff that releases potentially harmful smoke and things like that. Knowing how to build a fire to optimize warmth in the winter. You could huddle around a fire, or you can build reflector walls to reflect the heat back into your shelter. Different kinds of things, but knowing at a minimum how to build a fire, very cool. Things can go from stable to pear-shaped very quickly. And I think in today's society, we have lost a lot of that can-do attitude and self-reliance. So back to the original premise on the video, not everybody was brought up learning that stuff, and I recognize that. So for you guys in your older generations, generation above me and then the one above there, I hear you guys complain quite a bit, or I see you guys complain quite a bit about the state of the American male, and I understand that. I really do. I mean, these are my peers, my same generation a lot of times, and I'm shocked at the different things that they don't know how to do or were never taught to do. And I'm sure likewise they're shocked by my technological incompetence as well. So it goes both ways. So I would say, rather than just venting about it, if you have a younger chap like myself nearby that doesn't know this stuff, maybe take him under their wing. Now, you can't teach somebody that doesn't want to be taught, but if they come to you looking for guidance, maybe don't ridicule them, help them out. So guys, stay safe, keep shooting. I'll see you next time.